Hi everybody, I'm Dee Dee Vergados from InTheKnowRadio.com, and today my special guest is Dawn Rice. Dawn is a well-respected and trusted professional hypnotist with over 30 years of experience in helping people from all walks of life. Donald has also been helping children heal with his specially designed hypnosis methods for children, which have been used throughout the world. All of Don's powerful methods were developed by himself in his research, and he personally works with children in his clinics, cancer wards, children's hospitals, schools, and homes. Donald is also a certified hypnosis trainer, having trained thousands of people in the Phoenix area and up to 50,000 people nationally through his private practice, conferences, and workshops. He conducts seminars for professionals and the general public around the country and has trained professionals from medical doctors, psychiatrists, and other mental health professionals in the methods of applied hypnosis in a health and medical practice. Donald has also been featured on numerous television shows as a guest and on many radio talk shows. Don currently works at his private practice in Phoenix, Arizona. Don, what a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
So yours is an interesting story about how you first got into hypnosis. Do you want to share that with our audience?
Sure, it might help somebody, so certainly. First of all, when hypnosis started, I didn't even know what it was. You know, I'd seen it in college, thought, geez, that's a lot of fun. But as time went on, I built quite a business, and one day I woke up and didn't know where I was. And so after a bunch of stuff and tests and so forth, they said I had a brain tumor, but it was benign. However, if they would cut it off, I would die. And so I traveled all over the world getting the same MRIs and the same, so I was just kind of left with the fact, you know, I got a brain tumor and I'm going to be like this. Yeah? And I got very depressed, and, you know, I lost all my money and my businesses, everything. And one of my friends said, I'm going to take you to a hypnotist, she'll help. And I thought, oh God, you know, I'm sick enough now, I don't need this. So he took me, and we went up to Farmers Road, and we went to this old house, and Helen came out, and she was in her 70s with a bathrobe on, and she said, oh, I can help you. And I thought, no, but you know, really, that's what I was thinking. I just went along with it. I was so tired and so beat up, I couldn't fight back, you know.
Right.
So she takes me downstairs and chases 2 dogs and 1 cat off the recliner, which was my seat. And you know, and so she does an induction that I know now. At the time, I didn't know what she had. She did an induction, a little self-esteem, and woke me up. And it was the first time I'd relaxed probably in a year and a half or something like that. So she said, "You want to come back?" And I said, "I don't have any money, you know." So my friend said, "Well, it wasn't anything," but he said, "I'll pay for it." So I said, "Okay." So I went back. I did that twice, and I really liked it because I got such relaxation out of it. It's the only time that I had relaxation was during it. And I don't know, about the fourth time, she said to me, you know, you and I are different. And I'm thinking, yeah, I just come back from around the world. You've been on this little farm forever, you know. And she was a sweetheart. She was just really plain. And she said, you know, my belief is that you created that tumor. And if you created that tumor, my belief is you can get rid of that tumor. So being a smart aleck, when we go to do that? And she said, well, if you want me to, I can start today. I said, sure. So she did, I don't know, whatever. I felt about the same. And 4 weeks later, I had my 6-month checkup, and there wasn't a tumor.
So, but are you saying after just 4 sessions of hypnosis?
Yeah, well, 4 or 5, yes.
4.
Yeah, I can't remember now. You know?
Amazing.
It is amazing. Absolutely,
it's
utterly
amazing.
Yep. And, you know, I didn't have much faith in her, to be honest. But she sure knew what she was doing.
But it didn't matter in the end,
It took me about really a year to overcome the depression and all of that. You know, use some meds too, and I'd see her every once in a while. But the tumor went away, the depression didn't go away that fast.
I guess you were left a little sort of wounded from the experience.
Well, you were, and you know, when you lose a business or something like that, it takes a year or 2 for it to go away. Signing papers and having, so that was kind of distressing. But you know, she saved my life, no doubt about it. And I've done nothing but hypnosis since that day.
Wonderful. So, what kind of miracles have you seen? Because you've been doing it a long time, over 30 years.
Well, I wish you hadn't mentioned that. I feel tired now.
Don't be tired.
No, I'm doing great. there are so many miracles. I was just trying to recall the day. We had a little girl. Sometimes I work at some of the children's cancer wards, and I was doing this. And at the cancer wards, I'm not a hypnotist, and I'm not Don Rice. I am the Hypnosis man.
The Hypnosis,
Yep.
okay.
And no matter what anybody says, that's who I am.
Okay.
And probably the world's only Hypnosis man.
I'm sure.
But I had one little boy down there who was on chemo. And even on chemo, they're getting around and moving, and they make us look silly, And he had scraped his knee, and it was not healing because of the chemo and stuff. And so in hypnosis, when I talk to his subconscious mind, which I call the child's magic mind, where they go in and do all that stuff that they do, that we can't do anymore. He said it was fixed, and I asked him how did he fix it. He said, well, I put duct tape on it. My dad said duct tape will fix anything. And I said, okay. And the next week that I went over to see him, it was healing.
And what type of cancer did he have?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't get any medical terminology at all.
Yeah, you just do the work.
Yeah, you can sit there and argue with medical people about the terminology. And, if you've got a kidney infection, all I would need to know is your back hurts.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take care of the back hurts and then whatever the other names are, because I don't want a doctor to think I'm competing with them, because I'm not.
Sure.
I can't do what they do, and a lot of times they can't do what I do. But I've been lucky. I get a lot of referrals from doctors.
Yeah, it would seem so. If they actually allow you into the cancer ward, so.
Well, cancer wards, they'll try anything, to get you. But but for other things too, I can go into the hospital, and they're very receptive about it. When I started this 30 years ago, I wasn't allowed in the hospital.
Even to some extent today, people aren't allowed into the hospital.
But I'm out in Phoenix. Phoenix is more open than most places, and that's one of the reasons why I went out there. It's really kind of cool.
And plus, you have a reputation as well, so.
Well, I don't know if it's good to have a reputation or not.
Well, you seem to train a lot of medical doctors.
I've trained a lot of them, yeah.
Right. And so what specifically do you teach them in hypnosis? Do you teach them?
Really what I teach them, they've told me what I teach them in hypnosis, is the correct choice of words.
Okay.
Because when you've got the flu and someone gives you the shot, and they'll say, now your arm's going to ache for 3 days, it's probably going to ache for 3 days.
For sure.
And if you don't use that. So a lot of them have to go, what do I legally say because I have to, and what do I say to help them? And that's a big help with them. The other thing is knowing that help is their case. They usually don't want to do it themselves, but they want to know about it before they ask somebody else to do it, so they can have control, because doctors have to have control.
Well, and I'm sure they want to make
work.
sure that the person they're bringing in is
it's
credible.
just funny. It's so cute at times. I saw one the other day, and he said, I said to you that woman that was having a bad coughing, you think you're going to be able to help her? I said, well, you sent her in last week. And he said, well, she just was healed in a day. He said, do you charge for that fast? But yeah, it happens very quickly. And the more that happens, the better off it is for everybody, I think.
Absolutely.
I've always been working for hypnosis, period, worldwide, to make it a very legitimate business. And it's taken some time, and it's coming along.
And what I know your main specialty is medical hypnosis, but I also know that you do weight loss and smoking cessation. So tell us a little bit about getting people to change habits, mindsets, attitudes with hypnosis.
Well, it's pretty easy, really. People can. First of all, everything I've done for a long time is based on there is no such thing as a memory.
Interesting. Okay, so explain more about that.
Well, if all three of us would meet tomorrow and we would talk about this, what happened, every memory would be different.
Yes, you're right. It's like witnesses.
Just like
observing
witnesses.
A car accident.
Yeah, they're not good witnesses. I mean, they don't mean to cheat, but they don't. So if that memory is causing you trouble, like people come back from overseas and they're suffering, change the damn memory.
Right, and you have your hypnotic ways of doing that.
Yes,
you make it sound really easy, but actually
is. It is. The reason most people don't do it that way is because they don't believe it is.
I see. So, for example, someone with PTSD, how many sessions would they need?
It depends on how long they've gone. Time has. The longer that stayed with anybody, the more of an anchor it gets, and the more valuable it becomes to their mind.
Right.
And so, but I would say normally 3 months, 4 months at the maximum.
3 months. That's pretty amazing because
Yeah.
I know a lot of them have suffered a really
Oh,
long
they
time.
really suffered, yeah. In fact, next week when I go back, we're doing a fundraiser for the Wounded Warrior Project out in Phoenix to raise some funds for them.
Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
do stage shows also.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
I can't imagine
in my
that.
spare time.
So the interesting thing is, have you noticed any patterns in personalities? You know, for example, stress and anxiety. They say at one point that there was a cancer type personality. Do you notice patterns with diseases or patterns with mental mindsets?
No, people are just too different. Each one's too different to be having patterns.
Okay.
If you have to do some like psychological work, and a psychologist has to do it, they have to keep records and make patterns. You know. Yeah. The one thing I'm known for out in Phoenix area is I don't keep any records. I don't have to by law, and that way I get to see the firemen that need help, but they can't go to the psychologist because they'll lose their job, and all that type of thing. So I work in a completely unusual way.
Okay, can you share more about that with us?
Sure. People like that we usually see at night. We keep no records so that they can't lose their jobs. One of the big things right now is a lot of pilots are just scared to death to get in that plane.
Really? And how did they develop that fear?
Nobody knows. I know how to get rid of it. Nobody knows how it was developed.
So you're finding that it's happening increasingly more?
Yeah, and these
what
people
that's
are like
about.
45, 50 years old. That's all they've ever done all their life.
That is bizarre that all of a sudden
Isn't
they
it
would
though?
develop a fear of flying.
Well, it's pure claustrophobia. It's also getting close to a tight area and that sort of thing.
Right.
But if they go to the psychologist, at least that's what I've been told, and I'm not a psychologist, then that has to be reported to the board, and a good chance they won't fly again. And if you've been flying for most of your adult, what do you do once you lose your job?
Right, and your identity.
And your identity,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know with fear of flying, I usually knock it out in one session.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, but so many hypnotists think you can't. They've been taught you got to take 2-3 hours. I could probably live with a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, I have them book and just so they feel good, so they know they have the appointment for reinforcement, but generally it's one session, fear of flying.
I was in Ohio for a while, and when I moved down here to Phoenix, nobody knew me, so I thought I can try some things,
Oh, really?
So I tried charging just for 15 minutes, seeing them for 15 minutes, and I never had so many people angry at me in all your life.
Oh, because they believe it needs to take longer.
You got that pain out of my neck. I've had it for 30 years. Who do you think you are taking that pain away?
Stars, yeah.
And that's funny. So I just changed it back to an hour and upped my wage, and everything went fine.
Yeah. I can understand how that would be upsetting to someone to know that.
A lot of ones, yes.
Yeah.
That becomes part of their life.
Yeah, and it's just the grieving and the loss of the 30 years that they've had it when it's so simple.
Yeah, you can't take all of it, because if you take all of it, then that grieving starts. Subconscious mind will then create something else to replace it.
Oh, that's
But if
interesting.
you take about 90%, it'll let that go. And then if they come back, that 10% that's left, if you take 90% of that, there's no pain, no whatever is going on, and the subconscious mind is still comfortable with it.
Oh, so 90% and then 90% of the 10%. Good strategy.
Leave something there.
Yeah.
Because it will create something, and it's not very good about creating the right thing.
Unless you direct it.
Well, if you direct it, it'll do almost anything.
Uh-huh.
It'll do it if you'll ask. If you don't ask, it doesn't do it.
So when you like, obviously as hypnotists, we experiment a lot. So have you experimented with anything really wild and wacky, like tried to really push the limits to see what would happen?
Not with clients, but with myself.
Okay, so tell us about that.
I've been over to Haiti for about 6 months studying Voodoo, and I went over to the islands and studied the bloodless surgery. And there's
that's the psychic.
the Philippines, yeah.
Yeah, the psychic healing.
And I went to Bucamba in South America. They're all hypnosis.
I believe the same
They
thing.
are all
Yeah.
hypnosis. Been there and tried them. So I've tried a lot of crazy stuff like that, but I've got a nice scar right here. I had a tumor not related to my brain tumor removed from there, and I controlled the anesthesia.
Oh, so you had no anesthetic.
Just hypnosis.
That's fantastic.
That's dumb. I would never do that. It's too much work. It's really hard to keep doing that,
Really?
But I
'Cause you had
wanted
to
to see if
maintain-
that was, you've got you know, the side of the brain, the right side, that's all emotion, and the left side that's logic. And you've got to get through that, figure it out logically, and then give it to that part of the brain that'll accept it. And it's a lot of work, yeah.
So did you find yourself, like, while this surgery is taking place, like, having to work hard?
Yeah, you had to be alert.
Yeah.
You know, and they give you a shot, you don't have to be alert.
Sure.
And so it was just, you know, I was doing a lot of research and trying things, and it was just one of the things I tried on me. And, you know, it worked okay, but there was no benefit to it.
Well, other than you showed yourself you could do it, that's pretty big.
No, I've done enough of that. I've done enough
It's
of that.
time to stop using Dawn as the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
So, now what about trauma or abuse in children? Because
Horrible.
a lot of
Horrible.
it's just unfortunate circumstances. How do you deal with that with children?
I'm trying to get a law passed where I can take them out back of the place and beat the dickens out of them, but that's not going very
The
well.
abusers, you mean? Yeah.
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 It's really, you know, it's got to be balanced. You know, some kids will come in and say things, and they really, and there's some things I just don't want to tell you on television, but become sexual that it really wasn't sexual. And had I thought it was and reported that, the kids would be gone. They'd be out of the family, and they don't come back.
Right.
They just, I don't care what they say, the rules are, they just don't come back once they're taken away from the family.
Yeah.
So you could destroy a whole family just on a story.
And
Yeah.
which you didn't believe
Well,
in some
it's-
cases was true.
Yeah, you got to go with your heart on it. But when we're done with this, I'll tell you one that it's so simple and so complicated. It's just really weird, you know. But it was a true story, and yeah, I get a lot of kids that's been abused. The problem is, I can work with them really well in the office, but I have to keep the parents in the lobby.
Yeah.
And if you keep the parents in the lobby too much, they won't bring the kids back.
So it's that balance again.
It's a real balancing act, yeah. It really is, yeah.
And what happens to the parents when they see their kids getting so well in a lot of cases?
Those parents, that type of parents, just don't care.
Oh, you're talking the parents that are the actual abusers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not what they're about. You know, what they're about is them and control. You know, if they would come in, we could stop the whole thing in no time at all. You know, I mean, look how much power things have. Look at a stop sign when you see it. All of us, how we respond to it. It's crazy, but it works.
Yes,
Yeah, it works very well.
it does.
Sandy and I were just talking about, she really likes Coke Zero. That's a thing for her, okay? Or Pepsi Zero, I don't know one from the other, because but anyhow, when you order Coke Zero and they give you Pepsi Zero, as you put it to your mouth and smell it, your body reacts, you got the wrong thing. How friggin' cool is that? It knows it's wrong before you test it.
Well, through the smell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty strong up here.
Well, what's even stronger is that in blind taste tests, they always say Pepsi. In blind taste, Pepsi tastes better, but because of Coke's marketing for all these years, if you reveal that it's Coke, people associate it with warm and friendly and emotional, so they think they like Coke, but they really prefer Pepsi.
There's so much that we know now about people's minds that we can help that didn't know before. You know, it's just absolutely. You know that $9.99 every place. You know, that'd be 9,999,000. The research is showing that the parts of the brain that's stimulated by the $9.99 is the same feeling they get when you eat chocolate.
Really? That's
And
fascinating.
I always wondered why zillionaires were doing the $9.99 plus 99 cents.
Right.
And that's why.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting. But one little girl we had over at the hospital, she wouldn't take chemo, and because she didn't want to lose her hair. And the nurses had told her, you know, they have to tell her, you know, that if we give you the chemo, it'll get on your follicles and your hair will fall out. You know? And to a little 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl with blonde hair,
Right.
it's a big deal. You know?
Yeah.
So we talked to this one, and the same thing under hypnosis. She put WD-40 on it because nothing can stick to WD-40.
That's
And when she put it on her follicles.
Her follicles.
Her follicles. And then nurse said, no, I said, just leave her alone. You know,
Yeah.
that's her word. And she lost about half her hair.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of the research they did where they gave one group chemotherapy and one group the sterile water injections. Have you heard of
No,
that?
I haven't seen that.
Because everybody believes you're going to lose your hair with chemotherapy. So they wanted to see how powerful suggestion was. And I actually knew a woman who was in those studies. And she said to me, I lost all my hair, Dee Dee. She goes, but years later, I was so curious. I just had to find out which group I was in. Guess which group she was in? The sterile water injections.
Yeah.
So this is how powerful suggestions are.
Oh, our mind's tremendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely tremendous. Yeah.
So because you work with children, when children are so timid or shy, how do you work with
There's
them?
not many of those.
But there are. I've seen painfully shy.
What you do with
children.
them and what you do with almost all adults when they come in is increase their self-esteem and reduce their stress, and they get better on their own.
Oh, that's great. And how do you increase their self-esteem? Because
Well, I have some things that we talk to them. I do scripts. I've always, I've got probably 1,200 scripts. I don't like trying to remember. When I'm working with you, I don't want to try to remember the words and then feel you, because when I do this, I feel a lot of energy from people.
Sure.
So I do the scripts and I'll look at them a little bit and change them and so forth. But you have to be very careful with kids, because with the adult one that says, nobody can make you do what you don't want to do. Well, you don't want to say that to a child.
Yeah.
So we can talk to them and ask them, but children have a magic mind, that you and I know about, and they go in there and they play and they'll have tea and so forth. So once I hypnotize them, I say, we're going to your magic mind. Okay. When you get there, tell me, and they'll tell me. And then I'll say to them, they're really having problems with this magic mind. Do you know about that? And they'll say yes, like 3 people.
Yeah.
And once you talk to them, you say, well, how do I fix that? And they'll tell you how to fix it, and I do it.
That's fantastic. It's like a little mini parts work.
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. But they know. They're so bright.
You know what, children are the easiest to work with, honestly. Those adults, they take us for a run for our money. I had a child once, she was pulling out her eyelashes obsessively for a year. The parents tried everything, nail polish, gloves, reinforcement, positive reinforcement for good behavior, punishing her for bad behavior. Guess what? One session.
Isn't that amazing?
Done. It's done.
That's what I tell people. These are miracles.
She saw them as little, she said they're like little tree stumps
there you go.
that are growing, and I like to yank them out of the ground.
Yes.
So let's let the tree stumps grow,
Isn't that great?
One session.
And they'll tell you what they know.
They tell you
They're
exactly
not guessing.
everything.
I think it's this. No, they'll tell you
no,
what it is.
You're right. It's how they see it.
But we had one in not so long ago that was 12, and she hadn't eaten for other than milkshakes for about a week. And the story was, when I got to talk to her, she was at a fair with a bunch of the kids, and they were all trying to eat different foods, the young ones. And she didn't want to eat the fish, and they said, well, she'd be a sissy if she didn't eat the fish. So she got the back end of the fish that was thin and put her head way back and dropped it down in her throat to swallow it, like a bird would.
Yeah.
Well, I got stuck.
Oh, right.
And
she had phobia.
Yeah. So some of the people there ran over to her, beat her on the back for a little bit, and but the funny thing was, it wasn't so much the fact that she choked on it, it was all those people running after her. That scared her. So what we did is to, and you've probably seen this before, most people have, we have her see a lemon in her hand and then peel a lemon and let the juice, and as you're doing that, saliva is building up in there. So she just throws the food in with the saliva, and after about a week, she's just fine.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, they can do that. But even talking here, I'm getting saliva.
I know, I was thinking the same thing too.
It works. I've done that in the hospital with adults who have the dry area down there from all the oxygen going down, and they can't swallow, and just give them something sour, and boy, they can do it.
Yeah, or have them even imagine eating something sour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
It's very powerful.
So what other kind of miracles have you seen? I know you see them all the time, so.
I do, and sometimes I just think about, I got to get over the fact of seeing these as normal, natural things. I guess they are for me, but they've
not. Become that way for you, but
Yeah.
if for people listening,
I've had so many people healed that should have died.
Yeah,
it's just
from chronic disease.
Yeah.
So what do you make of all these autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia, or chronic fatigue is not exactly autoimmune, but where the immune system is attacking itself, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis?
Well, I don't have much to say about it, but it wasn't here 5 years ago or 8 years ago. So I wonder where it came from.
But it seems to be an epidemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I have
so's
a
ADD.
theory about it. Well,
I do too, but I wouldn't put it on camera.
yeah, exactly. I have a
Yeah.
theory, but
Yeah.
but so how do you help people with those types of?
If they want to be helped, it's really cool, you know. In their mind, they can have little things go down and lubricate the joints and something, and all sorts of like cartoon type people go down and do all that, and it really works. But it's still half of the healing is self-esteem and reduce stress.
Yeah.
Stress can kill you.
I do believe with chronic fatigue, there's a certain mindset. It's that overachiever, never wanting to stop and relax, and it's
Well, and the part is when they start to fall apart from all of that, then they create this. You know, I had as an example, I had a client come in who was 22 and she was a massage therapist, and she wanted to leave her job, but she couldn't. These people had given her an office and a table to get her started, and she couldn't because her leg was so bad. She just couldn't go out onto a new job. Well, when we did the hypnosis, we found out that she felt guilty leaving them. So when she went to them and explained the situation, everything went away in her leg, and she opened up a new office.
Wonderful. Yeah, it was causing her to stay there so that she didn't feel bad. That's amazing.
That happens to everybody.
Right. So people actually manufacture these things,
And they
because
don't know it.
Of course, it's all unconscious.
When that lady told me that I made that tumor in my head, I thought that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm a
Right.
smart man. I don't do things like that.
So
Well,
do you see it like that? That you actually create it in some way?
Yes.
And what's your observation on that?
I need more.
Okay, so what do you believe the thought pattern was, or what was it trying to do for you by developing?
At that time, I was had a whole lot of money, traveled a whole lot, lived a great life. Didn't do anything really bad, you know, but was just working like crazy, you know.
So it was a way to get you to stop.
I think it was a way to get me to stop. Yeah.
Slow down. Right.
And my pride wouldn't let me stop.
Ah, I see.
There's no way that could happen.
So it's like, if you're not going to slow down, we're going to make you slow
You
down.
betcha. Yep.
Well, the good thing is, if you can create it, you can take it away.
Oh, of course.
Excellent. So just knowing how, because I know you do everything, but especially children, and children are so important.
If you do children
Yeah.
now, you don't have to do them when they're 25.
Exactly, because hypnosis is usually the last resort.
And they're going to take care of my retirement community, so I want them smart.
Exactly. So knowing how susceptible children's minds are, especially to suggestion, because we know that all our beliefs are practically programmed in by the time we're 7 years old.
Yes.
What do you want to say to parents out there that would really help them, you know, build a child's brain and unconscious and self-esteem in the best possible way?
Well, with a little time they have, a little knowledge they have. If somebody's got, 3 or 4 children, boy, they don't have much time. You know, and they have to work hard. I always tell them to make sure that they know that the child knows that they're loved, but their actions are not liked.
I see. So it's
I don't like your actions, but I still love you. It makes a big difference in them.
right.
And they can achieve some hypnosis changes if they let the child go to sleep. When the child goes to sleep, the logical brain goes to sleep. Subconscious mind's still active. And if they could just stand back and whisper, you know, you're great in school. People love you. And for 2-3 minutes walk away, it changed their whole life.
Oh, that's amazing. So what have you
But
seen?
the problem is they don't pop up out of bed a new person. That's why people give up
it's
on it.
cumulative.
Yeah.
So when a parent has followed this through, what have you witnessed?
Oh, all sorts of things. You know, the one I think was I just thought about this one was really cool. They brought the 8-year-old girl in, and she was afraid of the dentist. And I found out the dentist had been strapping her to the chair to do this. You know, that scared me too.
Yeah, me too.
Know? And so they said, you know, can you help her? I said, not if she goes back to that dentist. You know,
Good
gotta
for
tell
you.
me. And so they said, no, it really doesn't matter. So I did it. She went to the dentist. Her mother called about a week later. She said, do I owe you any more money? And I said, no, I think you paid for it. Oh, I know you did. You know, you gave me a credit card. And she said, okay. I said, why are you asking that? And she said, well, for the academics. And I said, who's your daughter? And she said, Becky. And I said, we worked on the dentistry, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that went really good. But she said, you know, she was having trouble in school. And I said, I didn't want to say I didn't do anything, because sometimes if you do, then they get on the kid. Right. I said, how's she doing this? I want to see she's doing it right. She would take, I use a magic crystal with kids because they know magic, they don't know hypnosis. Okay? And so I give them that magic crystal. She took it home, and when she studied, she put the magic crystal on the book, and everything she studied went into the magic crystal. That went under her pillow that night, and it all went into her head that night.
Wow.
And she came with, just barely passing to top grades in just a week.
Oh, it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's so simple.
I'm not sure. Well, my whole life's simple.
Yeah, you seem like you just want to bottom line it, right?
Just
Bottom line it, get it done.
Yeah, I don't think I could have been born a woman. I can't. It is too complicated. Have you ever seen that YouTube that's called the Nothing Box?
No.
Oh my God, it's wonderful.
Really?
Oh, it's psychology about the research of the brain for the man and the woman, but it's done by a comedian, and it is wonderful.
The Nothing Box. I'll be sure to watch it.
It tells all about our relationships. It really does.
Yeah.
People call me up and say, I'm supposed to learn from that, and I laugh for hours. If you get a chance, anybody out there, if you get a chance, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to, how about sports performance enhancement for kids, since they're so malleable, those little brains of theirs?
Well, I do little ones. We do 4 on up. Soccer will take 4. And I also work for 3 professional baseball leagues.
Oh, fantastic.
Teams, not leagues, I'm sorry.
And how old are the kids on those teams?
These are the professionals that you see. There's a lot of them in there that's like 17, 18.
Oh, so you work on all ages. So is it...
Starting at 4 years old.
Yeah, but so with kids, can you make them really slow down a ball when they're up at bat so that they can, or an adult, child or adult?
Well, I've done that with the last one we had in. I can't, I'm not allowed to use the players' names.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the last one I had in, he'd been hit by a pitch ball. And that
90
really
miles an hour, yeah.
knocked his cap off and around.
Oh, did it hit him in the head?
Oh yeah, it really hit him in the head. And so
How does that not do someone damage?
Well, his coach said he shouldn't be acting like that. He should toughen up.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought maybe we take a swing at the coach and see,
Yeah. So how did you work with him?
Well, what I had him do is, I had him, when that ball came to him, it was so slow, and it was so large that he could always duck and miss it if he wanted to.
And how about being able to hit it better as well?
Once he can do that. If you can do the one, you can do the other.
Yeah.
Okay? And, he did just fine. He went right back swinging and so forth. But the funny thing about it is, or strange things, is the manager of the batting group for that particular team fired the coach because he didn't find a way to help him. But he brought him to me.
Oh, stars. That's not...
Sports are not easy.
Oh, it must have been. Yeah.
We had one a couple of months ago, little girl's 5, and when they put her out on the soccer field, she'd steal the ball and take it to the car.
It's like my nephew. He'd go pick flowers. He'd leave the field and go pick
they're
flowers.
wonderful. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
But see, things like that can happen, boom, with kids on their emotions. It can go away that. The class I was teaching today, I said, if somebody just broke in this door right now, screaming and howling, how long will it take you to be fearful? A second.
Right.
Why in the hell does it take 3 months to get rid of it? And it doesn't.
Good point.
It doesn't at all.
So fast, simple, and effective.
Yes.
So what would you like to leave our audience with?
Got to think about that.
One thing, just
Well, the one thing is that hypnosis can change your entire life for the better. Almost instantly.
Right.
That's what I like to do.
Well, thank you very much for being our guest today.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.